Welcome to another like strikes twice. I'm Max's headroom.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
we have two topics apiece, 5 minutes to discuss each one, and take it away.
Okay. Well, hopefully that intro worked out all right. It was so okay, my topic is kind of in a public health and safety realm. What do you think about dangerous playgrounds? Like or more broadly, the concept of free range kids?
Free range kids.
Like removing all the safety and letting kids just be kids, kind of like how it was when we were kids.
Right, yeah, yeah. I kind of think that's a good idea. Um, like if there's something obviously like stupidly dangerous, I'm not opposed to like taking that away, but
Yeah.
like I remember these like super tall slides and stuff
Yep.
and you'd climb like I don't know, a 20 rung ladder and go down this slide and it was super fun. And then
Yeah.
they took that away like I think when we were still kids even
Hmm.
because
Like maybe
somebody
more like
probably fell
teenager.
down and broke their neck or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I
Like
know.
did
I remember there was a big toy in a park nearby that was like 2 stories tall. It was like a fort, and it had like this
mm-hmm.
a pole that you'd slide down, and it was like, I don't know, 20 feet up or 30 feet up or something like that. And it was basically just a bunch of sawdust down there. Like you would totally hurt yourself. But I mean, I think that's good. It's important. I think protecting kids too much, like being overprotective, is as harmful as being underprotective. And
Yeah.
allowing kids to kind of wander and explore and make mistakes and stuff is really important for development. And
Mm-hmm.
taking that away, it's like you end up with kids that they've never faced that before. I think.
Yeah. Now, all that said, I've never been one of those kids that was like danger seeking. I've never broken a bone in my life. Like I turned out okay, I think. Like I
Yeah.
was tough enough to beat cancer twice. And so it's not like it makes you a softie to be protected, but it can, I think, create like some psychological barriers for you
Hmm.
as far as risk taking or just doing what needs to be done uh
Well,
but
and also like having the potential to experience those things and being able to make that decision for yourself. Like,
yeah,
oh, hey, this seems kind of dangerous. I'm not going to do that, you know?
but as I was saying that I was thinking, devil's advocate to the devil's advocate.
Mhm.
It could be that my clever way of thinking my way out of tricky situations could actually be because I'd rather not do it the hard way.
Well,
um
that's kind of what I was getting at there.
yeah,
Well, and
like
I think
so
also like being able to roam free as a kid or a group of kids. Me and my friends used to ride our bikes all around the neighborhood, and nobody was checking up on us. It's like, oh, come back before dark, essentially, or before dinner or
yeah,
whatever. And
yeah,
we had the option to just ride really far away to like another city or something, but we stuck close and stuff. And it's kind of like you're left alone to your own devices, and you also had to deal with like various situations like a bully that you run into, or you encounter some stranger who's trying to get you to get in their van or something, shit like that. And it's like I think that's really important. And I think as a society we've become too overprotective, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think and I don't know about like being soft or whatever, but it's like I don't think it's good for kids to grow up being completely enclosed in like a bubble of safety. I think it's
hmm
good to be able to roam free from time to time and be unattended, so you can learn how to deal with that on your own. Like, people have gone to jail. Parents have gone to jail for leaving like their 12-year-old at home for a couple hours while they go shopping. Like, literally been arrested for that. It's like, no, 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 no. When I was 12, You know, me and my brother would be home alone for like the whole day. Sometimes it's not that big of a deal, you know. Like
Mm,
I think I don't know. I think it's gone too far, honestly.
yeah. I mean, I would I would prefer if interventions like that happen with parents that aren't like vaccinating their kids or something like that. Like something that like there are these Christian Scientists and Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff letting their kids die of like measles and stuff, and they're just like, that's what God wanted, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
I
why did
see,
you
and
even
that
have kids if you're
oh
not
man,
like
and
if you
that's
don't
a
have the instinct to like protect their life at all costs?
I know that's a tough one for me because it's like on one hand I believe that people, you know, religions and belief faith and stuff. Well, I think people should be allowed to believe those things, but yeah, there is sort of a kind of an area where it's like I don't know, but it's like that's just something I struggle with, you know, with my own personal views on things. It's like how do you reconcile that in a way that balances things out? And honestly I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have a weekend off because the religion says so, that's fine. But if it's something that like we invented long after your religion was written down somewhere, like no, fuck off.
It's that's tough. I okay. Well, anyway, that we could
Yeah,
that would end up turning into a whole episode. Honestly, in fact, it probably should. That I like that. We should make
yeah,
that thing what we were just kind of discussing be an episode. All right, so it's
yeah.
your turn now.
All right. This is a philosophical, political question. Um, is government really a monopoly?
Well,
Like the government? Is that? I mean,
I
it exists as a monopoly, but does it have to be? I should phrase it that
oh
way.
yeah,
Could
because I
there
mean,
be multiple governments operating side by side?
ooh, actually, yeah, a little bit of competition. I mean, there is
Mhm.
competition globally, of course,
Right.
or between even within the U.S. between the states and stuff.
But it's
But
not so easy to just pick up and move to a different government.
no,
Yeah.
no, this is true. Depending on where you are, yes.
Mhm.
Well, and I mean, obviously, governments do operate monopolistically in many ways. There's things that are only the government is allowed to do,
Mhm.
which so there is kind of no competition in that regard. But I like the idea of there being sort of a variety of options or having individual like compartmentalized government operations for specific tasks. That makes a little more sense where it's not like the state you know controls all things and then everything operates underneath the state like this hierarchical structure. It'd be more
Mhm.
like, oh, you have the Department of Transportation, which is its own government specifically dealing with transportation or something, you know, and it has
I
nothing to do with like say the other stuff.
I
uh,
I wonder if a system like a governmental checks and balance sort of entity
mhm.
comprised of regular citizens could be something that would be a thing where
No,
like
no, I like.
they essentially hold like a kill switch
Mhm.
to where like if they don't provide the status quo government with this particular thing, that government shuts down, like it can't do anything.
Hmm.
um so like if they're fucking up and not doing things in a representative way like they do now,
Mhm.
this other one can be like, we're pulling the plug on you, and then everything kind of diverts through them, like funding and stuff. It just like switches over, and they start handling those tasks. Like maybe
Huh.
that would be like a good way to ensure those checks and balances stay in place.
You know, and I kind of yeah, and that made me think like there's a lot of regulatory organizations that are basically run by the industry, like
Mhm, mhm.
where it's like industry professionals from like engineering organizations and stuff. The IEC is a good example of that. It's a regulatory body and it's run by people who operate within that industry, and they sort of like get together from time to time and decide on, oh, here's what the USB plug is going to look like, or here the new standard for USB, the you know, and a bunch of like, you know, big brain people get together and they sort it
Mhm.
out and they come up with this thing and they publish papers and they're like, okay, hey, if you want to build something that's USB, it you know, here's our standards, and when you put that sticker on there, it needs to adhere to these principles. I like, you know, the DOT, right? Who better to be like in charge of coming up with things having to do with vehicles than manufacturers, right? Everybody, like
Mhm.
everybody's they get together and they decide on like safety standards and things like that, and you get a whole bunch of engineers together and a bunch of designers, and everybody kind of comes up with things. Like that makes a lot more sense. And when
Yeah.
you also, the good thing about that is it's not limited to say like just Ford or just Toyota. It's like everybody comes together, all the companies. So there's no one company can dictate what is, you know, the course. It's like they basically vote on it as a group. Um, that would make a hell of a lot more sense, honestly.
Yeah.
And it would move faster. That's the thing. Like government shit, you know, they drag their feet, and like good luck getting anything done in any timely fashion. But when you
Mhm.
have people that have an interest in progress and making things better, so like they're not going to waste time, because time is money for these people. So you know, it's like, all right, well, let's sort this out and you know, move forward. I would love to see a lot more of that, honestly, than
Yeah.
like, you know,
Or
it,
you petition the government to do something, they basically ignore it. You just
yeah.
go petition the other
Yeah,
government, you
exactly.
know?
Or you know what, you work as an engineer for say Ford or something, and then you go to one of these conferences or whatever, and you add your voice to that. Like
Yeah.
that, that's, oh man, that's shit. That's another one where I feel like we were starting to get onto something really big, actually.
Yeah.
Damn it, that's good. Oh man. Ah, and see, I could see, just as like a final thought, I guess, on that is like, I could see many things being done that way, like we were starting to talk about, where like to the point where your voted representatives and stuff would be very minimal. They just kind of
Yeah.
would oversee that everything's running smoothly and maybe have the authority to like put the brakes on something that's dumb or whatever, you know, kind of just make sure that everybody's cooperating, essentially. Like,
Hmm.
and that is where, as an anarchist, like I can support a government like that, where it's very
Yeah.
minimal and it's just like, hey, make sure everybody's playing by the rules, hey, right? You know, like
Hmm.
no shenanigans here. Like that I'm okay with that. I mean, you could do that with police, you could do that with the fire department, like anything, like public works and stuff like that. Oh man, shit. I'm like getting all excited now. Shit. But hey, I guess we gotta, you know, we gotta go live for our next thing. So no, I don't know if you share your thoughts down there on both of these, because I think there's a lot of people who feel pretty passionately about both of these on either side too. So you know, I'd really love to hear people's thoughts on these topics. I think there's some good ones.
Since anything goes in America now, I think maybe like for 2028, kitchen sink microscopy should be the first YouTube channel to become president.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? Holy shit.
And then we could have like another YouTube channel as vice president.
Yep. And all it is, like we just live stream and take
Mhm.
the comments and stuff, and like, you know, hey, people, whatever people start suggesting, we implement.
Our running mate is Kitchen Sink University. We're all corrupt from the beginning.
Nepotism and stuff. Oh man. All right, well, hopefully everybody enjoyed that, and you know, I guess we do this every week, and of course we have our live episodes every Sunday, and random odds and ends, minute microscopies, a whole bunch of stuff. It just kind of comes up whenever it does. So yeah, and we've got my Tacoma prepper stuff that I've been like trying to keep up with. So those are in there, and yeah, so got a lot of videos, something for everybody, basically. All right.
Subscribe.